Welcome to Inside the Firm, a podcast dedicated to small business owners and hosted by entrepreneurs, Alex Gore and Lance Cayko. Each week, they take you on their journey of how to start, run, and grow a business by bringing you inside their architecture and real estate development firm. Get a behind-the-scenes tour of how these business leaders manage their clients and foster company culture while creating new and innovative projects. And now your hosts, Alex Gore and Lance Cayko.
Al Gore, welcome back.
You welcome back.
Me, welcome
you
back.
Welcome back.
Welcome everybody back. Yeah, it's been a long 2 weeks.
Yeah.
We
tried to get one out right before the break, and we had a firm-wide break, basically, over the fourth week.
Over the week of the 4th, Independence Day.
Yep.
Which
got so caught up, we couldn't even do it.
Couldn't even do it. So we're sorry about that. But we're back in action. We're
Woo!
here. We're here to talk to you.
You're like, yes.
That's what, yeah. We missed you guys and your jokes.
Too long.
We missed Al's jokes and Nick Reed's and all that.
Yep.
But now we're back, yeah. So it's been a busy couple of weeks. The whole Independence Day right in the middle of it kind of threw us for a loop. But I think it was good. So what I want to do is recap about us encouraging everybody at the firm to take 1 week off. They could either they could completely take it off, or they could just work from home or at their leisure, or they could be flexible around it. And what was awesome about that was, so some guys took advantage of it completely, like Al. Al went up to Minnesota, hung out with his family, and then a couple guys were in and out of the office a little bit. I was one of those people, and then I sort of took my flex days before that, and another guy took his flex days after that. Now he's down in Florida. But what I think it did for everybody is it just relieved any kind of like hustle and bustle pressure, and all of a sudden we're all 100% re-energized. And I think that's so important, especially during what everybody calls the dog days of summer. Like it is 100 degrees. Yep. I think it just wears on you mid-year. And you got to just get a refresher.
And then some people think, okay, how can you take 100% off? And
well, what you do is you set up your email, and then it sends back a reply, and then I get annoyed because it's Al.
Yeah, because you keep sending me emails.
and it's stuff like where I think it's like calendar events for like 2 weeks away.
Yeah. And we didn't do it perfectly, because if there was some of my consultants listening to this, they're like, well, then why did you keep calling me during when you were gone? And what my thing was, I don't even think I opened my computer. I don't think I did any actual work.
See, that was smart. Yeah, and then you got back and it was like literally 100 emails.
Yes, but I did respond. I did actually look at some emails on my phone, because I got my phone, right? And I did call people. And there was some urgent things, and we have some staff at the firm, and they didn't take off because, like, one of them right now is taking off. He's in Florida or something like that. So then I could literally dish it to all of them. And what was great about, because our philosophy, what we wanted to do was everyone takes a whole week off, and we let everyone know. We didn't let everyone know, and there was actually an emergency with one project and stuff like that. So it was good that some of the guys were working. And I don't think we should take off, because I got this from Liebskin, a whole week off, because sometimes it doesn't work out for people. Like, why that week? Why do I have to take your week off? That you want.
Right, and demand.
Yeah.
So that's why we left it flexible for people. And honestly, that's why I emphasize it worked really well for me, because I had a convention to go to the weekend before.
Exactly.
So then my 5 or 6 days were like different than everybody else's and Alex's. Alex was one of the only ones that really made it happen from the get-go, and then another guy took it in his own way. So whatever. I just like being flexible for our guys.
Yeah.
For everybody.
But I liked it. I thought it was good that people do it in Christmas too, and everyone knows, hey, if you want to take off, if you want to work from home,
the last week of the year, I just get so burnt out. I just say I'm not coming in, and I just work from home the whole time, and I just don't leave, and like I'm around the kids.
Yep.
And I redline from the couch for like 2 days. Just I really don't move.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I get really, really burnt out at the end of the year.
Like you put, there's a land spot. Bring me my coffee.
Oh, absolutely. There's a land spot. Yep. And then the kids bring the coffee.
Yep. Yeah. Bring me my orange juice.
So don't be afraid to just, if you get to that point of being just honestly burnt out, I think everybody gets to that point. at some point in the year, just don't go to work and do it at your own time. You have to do it. Like I'm hitting that point with like some like tangential like activist stuff that I'm doing right now. I'm like, I can't do it anymore. So like this whole week I haven't done anything like that. I'm like, nope, I'm gonna hang out with my wife. I'm gonna do garden stuff. So I've just been in the garden doing my Lance thing, and it's made me a happier person.
Good.
And I've been sleeping well.
Good. If you want to take the whole week off and not be answering phones and emails and stuff like that, you just got to let everyone that you're working with know ahead of time.
Yeah, so let's say this was the trial run. What would you do next time, Al? What is the best way to do this if you were to do it next
I like the hybrid approach. The only thing I might do...
What do you mean the hybrid approach? Like saying you don't have... It's not mandatory?
The same thing that we said, same thing we described. The only thing I might do is email, let's say I have like 10 clients, and tell them like I am out. Like you can't... my phone's off. I'm not even... I'll program it so that you can't even give me emails, or at least just say that. And then only if there's a small fire. Like that's the only one I'll take.
You wouldn't go for a big fire?
A big fire, that's what I meant.
Yeah, okay. I'm just making sure.
Yeah. A big fire.
I was going to say, yeah, it's going to be a big fire.
Yep. But most of the times, and this is what I've been doing, and this is what's great, is that almost every one of my projects, it's me and one of the guys. So then it's easy, like, hey, just talk to this guy or this guy. You've been talking to them already. I can't do any of the architecture overview or anything like that, but here's what we got. Oh, and hey, the fire... a lot of you that are architects probably know this. The fire that was so massive was, hey, your floor depth doesn't work for the plumbing. I go, yeah, it does. We even met on site, use smaller just plumber said, no. So I said, hey, you should probably get plumbing drawings for this from a professional engineer. So the professional engineer came out and said, oh yeah, this will work, blah, 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 and just told him what to do.
But you
that was a fire.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a fire. It was just them. But in their eyes, it was. But I was correct, but they didn't know it.
I know. Isn't it interesting how everybody's scope of their own problems? I mean, it's all subjective, right? Like, there's no objective truth to these problems. I don't think it all depends on like what their view is and where it's narrowed or not.
To the developer, the plumber, you could not move forward. The project was stalled because the plumber said it couldn't get done. And okay, here's maybe a lesson learned is that if it's a plumbing issue, bring or just demand, okay, I know somewhat, and I can tell you the answer, but you're not going to believe me. So we're bringing the plumbing
You
engineer.
would think we would have already learned that from doing so much structural engineering in-house.
You'd think we'd learn a lot of things.
Yeah, but here we are. Here we are still learning.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Speaking of which, we are learning a lot as developers.
Well, can I go for the good news first?
Yes.
So 2 Tuesdays ago, we take our development, and what's crazy about this whole podcast, we're at 67 now, episode 67,
I believe
maybe?
67, yep.
Was basically the genesis is we're going to walk you through a development. We're going to walk you through what's happening, how to go from an architecture firm to a development firm.
Exactly. So if it really is 67, I'm going to look it up real quick. It is 67.
Look at me.
And technically 68 if you count episode 0. And then technically, since we do this every week, yes, we've missed probably... I'd say 4 podcasts so far because we try to do this weekly. So that puts us at, like 71 or something like that. So then that's almost 18 months worth of talking.
Yeah.
Meaning, I think what Alex is getting is like, yeah, we thought this is a very lengthy thing and a process. I wish that the general public understood that and I think it's developers' fault for not educating people. Or kind of laying it out there and like having a lecture ready to go or something like that, or maybe they go present or just on their own time, like this is how development works. Yeah. This is the process. I think people would be a bit more empathetic to the developer.
It's a tall task because the perception is it's just money grubbing, right?
Yep. The perception is that we're just getting rich. Look at us, we're just nonstop rich.
So
driving cars, wrecking them on purpose, buying new ones,
throwing iPhones out the window.
Yeah.
So our project was conditional use, meaning we had to get permission from the Planning and Zoning Commission just to have it be there. And then also they said that there was a modification to a landscape buffer. I told them that I don't believe that their interpretation is correct, and I laid out points why. But again, the planning staff says it's a modification. They have to rule on it, all that stuff. And what we, time and time again, developers push us to push the boundaries, right? And a lot of times in the end, it does not work. So then they default to just what the city says that they can do. And then it just turns into just like a mediocre project a lot of times. Like, oh, I guess we can only do this. We can't push it, right? So now we as developers are faced with the same problem. Okay, do we push it a little bit, risk a whole bunch of money, and then use good design, and hopefully they see like this is a thoughtful solution and it doesn't fit directly in your codes? But the logic is, how could it? How could you plan for everything? How could your codes be so perfect?
Yeah.
Yep, that they allow for everything.
And what this culminated in is a special planning and zoning. Well, it wasn't special; it was a routine. But we got put on the list for presenting in front of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Which, if you aren't aware of what these entities are, I would pitch to all architects, developers, anybody who's listening who has anything to do with real estate, even realtors who are dealing with developments. Try to get on one of these boards. That is going to be a goal for me. Is getting on one of those boards. It's an appointed position, so you'd have to butter up to city council and get a position. But like, why I advocate for that is because you have people up on these boards who are busybodies. But more than that, it's I don't think they understand the
process.
The process. I don't think they understand how one little comment of theirs, and maybe they're just making it, and this kind of happened. This happens all the time in these meetings. Is you present in front of these people, and you can tell like, oh, you're just making that comment because you honestly had nothing else to talk about. There was no you needed to make up something. So do you understand that one little comment is going to cost the project this X, Y, and Z? Yep. And no, it's not me thinking and trying to be a greedy developer. It's me going like, well, yeah, that cuts into the profit margins, but like, do you understand that like, first of all, it's a nothing burger. Second of all, it's just going to raise the cost of this building and this unit for the consumer. And if we're really trying to provide affordable housing in here, it's not going to work. So we cannot sit in the sidelines anymore. I'm not saying you need to go out and get crazy politically active or anything like that. But you got to get on these boards. You got to be involved with these boards somehow, because we're not being represented. The architects, the developers, the realtors. It's people. Those people aren't being represented on there.
Yep. There are some good people on there too.
Yes.
There's both.
But I just don't think specific to the industry.
Yeah.
I would say there's a very small minority of people that are specific to the industry, understand how the process works, and could help the insights be better.
Yep. And as maybe a stepping stone, I would attend one of these meetings, attend a planning and zoning meeting. I've even attended a planning and recs meeting. All of them I've spoken up at. I presented at our meeting, but we've gotten emails and people. It's literally causing business to be developed. Like, I'm literally getting emails from people like, "Hey, saw you there, liked your stuff, blah blah blah." So now you're just getting well known. One of our bankers went to ours. We interviewed 3 to 4 bankers. One went to it. Guess what? We had him in this week. Okay. Like, it was such a smart move of his. Such a smart move. So just first step, go. Second step, maybe talk and speak up on an issue. Because we'll tell you why it's very important, and it's coming up after this.
Yeah. But to speak to the meeting a little bit. So Alex went up and spoke to the meeting. So that's what I was getting at, is it culminated in this presentation. And what the difference maker and why we think we got approved unanimously, and honestly they gushed over the project, was one of the things they said is that they said, we don't see this kind of presentation from developers typically. In other words, Alex kind of laid bare everything and said and made the case graphically. Obviously, I think we have an advantage because we're the architects plus the developers and stuff like that. But that was critical. So if you have a developer that you're working for and I think is maybe gun shy about, it would behoove you to not offer your services and say, like, I would happy to help you present, happy to help you get this through somehow. I know money's always an issue, but like, so maybe you can't charge for this meeting or something like that, or it cuts into your profit a little bit. But I think it goes a long way, because what Alex is saying is, one of the things he said is, Well, we're starting to get business because of it now. People are seeing you in public.
Yep. Well, here's the other lesson to be learned too, is that we kept hearing that Planning and Zoning Commission won't, if you have any variance, they're going to deny you. Well, maybe you go to these meetings, or you do one yourself and you go, yeah, that's true, because most developers are giving them SHIT as a response. Like, hey, we want this variance. We literally got this response from the Planning and Zoning Commission. They said, hey, most people, when they ask for a variance, they don't give much in return. He goes, I am genuinely very appreciative that you guys gave something in return. So we gave more landscaping, better design, all this other stuff, right? It's on YouTube. So like Longmont, it was the June 20, let me look here. Planning and Zoning Commission meeting.
It would have been on a Tuesday.
The 20. Tuesday?
Yep.
Yep.
You going to link to it?
I'll link to it.
Alex is within the first half hour. So
yep.
You could.
And you can fast forward and rewind.
Oh, no, sorry. It's not on a Tuesday. Sorry, I'm getting that confused with City Council. It's on a Wednesday. Either way, he'll link to it. He's within the first.
It's the other way. Wasn't it?
City Council's on Tuesday.
Ours was first, or was ours second?
Planning and Zoning. Oh, I see what you mean. It doesn't matter. You'll link to it.
Okay. And then you can watch it. But what I'm going for is that, let's say you have a good design idea and the developer says, oh, they're just going to nix it or whatever. Now we can come in with experience and say, not necessarily, if you do it right.
And you just can't half-ass it.
Yep. Because they were hitting us with questions. And I asked our planner, hey, how should we present? And you might want to watch it just to see kind of what we did. And he goes, don't tell a long backstory about your firm.
He said that.
Because he said one guy talked for 20 minutes and then got to his project. And I skipped through our backstory really quickly.
It was like 5 or 6 slides, and I'll just, I'm not 5 seconds, maybe even less than that per slide.
Yep. And here's the difference. If you are a long-winded person, he goes, he lost the audience. He lost the audience talking for 20 minutes. So I skipped through that, went through my presentation. Then one of the commissioners asked, hey, can you go back? And I went back to the start of the project. He goes, no, back and tell us about your firm. So I did it succinctly, but then I did it well. So you got to realize, and it's very hard, and I bet you the people that are going to fault at this doesn't even know I'm talking to you. If you are a long-winded, boring person, if someone's told you that, and you have that inclination, please take it to heart. Please take that to heart and don't do that. If you're not, if you have exciting stuff, things like that, they want to hear that because they're, normally listening to boring people that just talk about nonsense and go to sleep. So it might be nice for you guys to watch the whole thing and then see, they wanted to know about our backstory. And that actually kind of helped us.
It actually helped us quite a bit because the reason why Alex wanted to do it from the beginning, which I was on board for it, and so was Alex, but then we asked the planner and he said, nah, don't do it because of what he talked about, was because we wanted to present ourselves as, look, we're not outsiders. We're invested in the community. So, we're not enemies here. We're trying, if you guys don't allow this, you're just hurting the people who are invested in the community. Why would you do that?
Yep.
To make us, look like the good guys and wow, thank God F9 is here. And they can't, that's basically what the sentiment was at the end of it was wow, so glad that we have F9 Productions. They are doing stuff that this is the direction Longmont wants to go.
Here's how you can judge how deep to go into that backstory. Is what you're presenting going to be a surprise to them? Meaning, if you're going to sit there and do 20 minutes of, hey, we designed this building in Longmont, and it looks just like the other one. And this one in Longmont looks just like the other one. This one, and then we're going to do something that just looks like the other one. They're going to go, yeah, we get it. So we picked projects that are unique, right? Because they haven't seen that. That's not what they're normally dealing with. So that's how to approach it.
Yeah.
So then, either the day before or the day after, I go to a city council meeting. So
it was the day before.
The day before.
Me.
Okay, Lance says it was the day before, and I speak, and then I leave, and then I watch it on YouTube when I get home, and I watch the rest of it. And they're talking about inclusionary zoning, inclusionary housing, which means affordable housing, and so all of a sudden we just got, or the next day we got a whole bunch of. Just praise about how Longmont wants it. This is great, stuff like that. In the back of my head, though, I heard this word retroactive. So I go, when are they going to apply this? So then, meaning they'd change 12.5% of our project. And if you guys know what it takes to get through planning, zoning, and approval, which we did get, and we got a letter, it took us over a year, and it took us hundreds of thousands of dollars.
See, and that's the tricky part. We have a letter from the Planning and Zoning Commission, but there's still a few hanging chads. Like, the plat hasn't been recorded. They haven't asked for Mylar. So it's kind of like we have, and I was trying to explain this to shout out Adam Mayberry, and that's why it takes 10 minutes. This is going to be an hour-long podcast. We sort of have approval. And, like, you never really have approval in my world until, shovels are in the ground. Like, that's kind of our thinking is, like, come on, we're building here. Like, things are happening. Like, we have approval, people. You can't renege on us. You can't retroactively apply stuff to us. Like, the cake has been baked. We can't take the sugar out.
Yep. So I go talk to the planners, and they say, hey, talk to the lawyer. I can't get a hold of the city lawyer. I'm going to keep trying. But basically they said, if you have approval before they vote on it, you're probably good. It's planning and zoning. It's not building approval, because building approval will know what, it's probably going to be faster than planning and zoning. Blowing my mind. And then people are saying, yours is pretty affordable. This isn't going to apply to you. And I go, no. So I keep barking up all these trees, and I finally get to the assistant city manager. They go, if you didn't have your final plat recorded by January, 7 months ago, it applies to you. And I explained to her our project, like, how could we apply this? And I, told her how, like, this is a cake that has been baked. I didn't use that analogy, but I'm going to start to. And now you want us to take out 12% of the sugar. We have to destroy that cake, make a new one for hundreds of thousands of dollars, and then delay our project. That is unfinancially feasible because then you ask, he goes, okay, thinking about the next land, and this is appropriate. How would you apply that thought to the next land? And then how would you apply it to ours, right? So we need to know the rules, and they don't even have them yet, so we can't apply them. And we need to know the benefits we could give, because they say you got to apply with these rules, but you might get some reduced benefits, some increase in density or reduced payments. I go, we can't tell the bank that, like, we already designed it. We already designed it. So, like, we would have to redesign the units, which would mess with the layout, which would mess with draining. We'd have to redesign our exteriors to make it more affordable, because we have to spread that cost around everything. We'd have to redesign or take out all of our sky decks, which would change all of our roof lines. Everything changes. And they don't understand that. They just think, like, just pay the fee in lieu, just pay $185. This disconnect. And this is me, saying, I think developers, you have done yourself an injustice and in service to your own selves, in that I think you need to educate people that you aren't making money hand over fist. There's, like, margins are as they're very tight, especially when you get to the end of the business cycle, and I think that's where we're at. And people have heard me talk about that before in this podcast. As you near that, and labor prices and material prices go up, and at the same time real estate prices aren't keeping up with that, it's gonna make your margins razor thin. So educating people about that and showing them. So that's actually what one of the things we're going to try to do over the next week is I went through. Because this affects a bunch of developers. It wouldn't be just us. Like, for them to retroactively apply something to people that are throwing tens of millions of dollars at projects, and have already went through their whole pro forma, and then all of a sudden to get slapped with by the way, 12% of your units now they can't be sold for X amount of dollars or rented out for X over dollars. I think it's morally wrong. I think it's just logically wrong. So what I did is Alex got in touch with a bunch of other developers. We're going to try to get them to come speak soon, and we're trying to talk to them and make everybody aware of this. But we're also going to go talk to the city council members and show them how razor thin the margins are, and how kind of ridiculous it is to retroactively apply something. I think it's one thing to give the developers a target for them to go, like, okay, just so you know, 2019, January 1st, this is what's going to happen. Here's the targets you guys got to meet. Developers are creative people. They've figured out how to, like, do this insane process of development. Yep.
They have architects who are super creative. They have realtors that are even creative. They can at least get towards the target and make stuff happen. I talked to a couple yesterday that were like, oh, well, when we did our development, we knew what we had to aim for, and now we've come up with this really cool product that's like $300,000 and it sells really well and it works for us. We still make our profits, and it all works. But they were working hand in hand with the Planning and Zoning Commission, the departments, all of these city entities.
Because we might honestly, with that, be able to reduce parking and then increase a unit. Okay, in the future we could do that. We can't do that now. That's not possible now. That's not possible. And then shout out to the Entree Architect community on Facebook, because I asked them, like, hey, have you ever had any retroactive? And most people were like, oh, that doesn't seem legal. It doesn't seem legal. It doesn't seem legal. Like, oh, that seems crazy. And this is what's crazy to me is that everyone you talk to says, oh, yeah, no, that's not a real thing. But then when you talk to the people making the decisions, yes, that's a real thing. I don't know how that disconnect happens. And
that's what I think everybody's missing when it comes down to city council level government, is that you guys got to understand, all they have to do is read an ordinance 2 times, and people aren't paying attention, and I get why they're not paying attention. We have a million other things to do. You have a life. You're on your smartphone. It's you
assume rationality.
You assume rationality, and you assume that like it's a small local government. They're not gonna just push stuff through. But as soon as you quit paying attention, this is exactly what happens. Like, it's literally mind-blowing to me, and I hate that we even have to address it. I hate that we have to address it because I feel like common sense should rule the day.
Did you find the agenda for next Tuesday?
Yeah, it's not on there. This is an open forum.
Okay, good. So they're not doing the first reading yet.
No. Good. So what they want. So the thing they spoke up about, which like perked up Al's little ears, and that the city council meeting 2 weeks ago was they go like. And it perked up mine too. And then I even texted him and I go, did you hear what they just said? And it was they were getting impatient. That like, oh, why we just keep talking about this ordinance? We need to pass it now. Yeah. And whenever I hear any official, even if it's a private corporation, somebody higher up, and they go, we need to do this now. Ooh. I don't think so. I think we need to talk about it. Can we talk about it? Can we just slow down? Can we slow down? Can you have some input? Can there be some back and forth? Good Lord.
And here's the why. I don't want us as developers to come by like we're trying to delay the process. I want to say the reason why we want to talk about this, and you might view this as slowing down, is because you're making crazy decisions. I don't know how to say that. Like, you know what I mean? You're retroactively applying stuff, and we need to... Apparently, everyone in public understands how that's crazy, but you get in government, and that seems like a logical solution. It's like you twist over into some dimension. And mind you, that how I found out about this is that I casted it onto my TV, walking around at 9 o'clock, 8:39, putting my baby to bed, talking to my wife, having a book in my lap, and that's how I hear about it.
Exactly.
They're going through if your city is going through any sort of change, you need to listen to these meetings because they're not notifying you. It's not like they're sending you an email.
Nobody's getting a notification letter. Exactly. Like, I'm sorry, but if you are dealing in real estate, you got to start turning the tube on, at least in the background. Get YouTube Red, for God's sakes. Put it on your iPhone or your Android. That way you can just plug it in and walk around, do your thing at night. But you got to listen in on this stuff and be ready for like those kind of, whoa, this is what they're going to do? Because the other thing is they didn't even have they presented 2 PowerPoints. Alex went down there and asked them, like, can you email me them? Nope. They had to print them off. Like, they're not even publicly available.
Well, and here's the other thing. Hey, can I see the code? Because maybe it won't affect us. Maybe they're like, hey, you got to do 12%, but you get a credit of the equal amount of the difference. I'd be like, okay, I won't bring up.
Or like, oh no, that's only for developments over 10 units, whatever.
Yeah, they don't. It's not even written. So I don't know how to comply. I don't know how to comply with this. Yeah. I have no idea.
Yeah. So that's.
So what we're doing here's the only remedy that we have. Is that we're getting other developers, and then we're going to, and we are calling city council people. We already have 3 meetings with 3 out of the 7, and we're going to just tell them rationally what's happening. So you can get private meetings, and by private I mean it's not. It just means you're having a meeting with them, right?
No, you don't have to go to the typical chambers. They can come to your office.
Yep. Or you can go to their office. They have offices, and then we're going to speak publicly at the public meeting too. So. honestly, who knows? Who knows? Because the other option, and this is again, we're not big developers, and this is what they do down in Denver and Lakewood. Is I have witnessed them trying to do these retroactively stuff, and the developers are so calm. And when I was talking to them, we were starving and young. I'm like, this is going to kill our architecture committee. I was freaked out, and I'm like, why are they so calm? And they're like, yeah, we're just going to sue the city, and they're going to see how dumb it is, and they always go back because it's the stupidest idea ever. And whenever you tell a story like that, it's like, oh, are you threatening to sue the city? I'm like, no, we are a small, like, we don't want to do that. We aren't someone who just wants to pay a lawyer to do this stuff. Like, we want you to be rational about it. Makes no sense.
We're already done. All we've been doing is bleeding money for 18 months. I'm not joking. It's just like...
They're expensive.
The whole thing has been crazy expensive. And we're finally at the point where we're going after financing. So we're finally seeing like the light, and it's like, geez, can we just put the shovels in the ground already? What a problem to have. So that's that. We'll stay tuned. It's going to be exciting. I'm going to have I think Al should even put a link to how you can go watch a city council meeting on Tuesday. So you'll see us there with a bunch of developers. I'm not joking. Like, I think this is so educational for everybody to realize, like, you can't sit on the couch anymore. I'm sorry. Not even when it comes to small municipalities. You've got to at least be engaged. You don't have to go out there and yell and protest, but you at least need to be engaged and aware.
Here's the lesson that we learned was, hey, we're going to be architects, and we're going to put our little tiny foot in the developer role.
Yep.
And we know how to build, and we're smart, and they're no smarter than us, so why can't we do this?
Why can't we do it?
Just know, okay, there's a different role, and that role is there for a reason. And the role that you have to take if you're developing is that, okay, you have to do architecture, but you might not be able to do all that yourself, so like maybe have someone on your staff be ahead of it, and you need to start looking at city council meetings, looking at agendas, being political. You need to take that step up and actually do, like, here's what's so dumb maybe about us is like, what did we think the developers were doing?
I know, no, exactly.
What did we think they were doing?
Here's what we thought. I'll tell you what I thought.
Yeah.
And this is hilarious. Is I thought, oh, they're just beating down the subs. They're just beating down subs, architects, everybody that they had to hire as far as price goes.
And they're just finding land. That's all they do.
They're just finding land. They're just finding land, and then they get finance and everything. Nope. There's this whole other component that is just. It's worth money. It's worth money, time, effort, all that.
So developers are finding land for the right price, finding business partners if they need partners financially, getting contacts with construction people. You should be doing that through your architecture program so that you can actually get subs, and then dealing with the higher level political zoning, everything that's happening at that upper level. So there's 4 things right there. The developer hat, make sure you're doing.
Yeah, I'm naming this episode "The Real Role of Developers."
Nice.
It just happened.
That
just happened. Yeah. What do we got next, Al? That's enough of that. Stay tuned.
Al reads. Al forgot, whoever that guy is, Al forgot to send Nick the reading, and he did it this morning because he's been running around. Literally, I've been doing circles from our office to city council to planning to developers and back, like just walking in circles. So this read is Blue Ocean Strategy by Chan Kim and Renee. Ooh, I'm going to mess this up. Malborn? You want to give a stab at that?
Malborn.
There we go.
I nailed it.
You nailed it. There we go.
And now Al reads.
Hello, best friends. Yet, many companies fail to deliver exceptional value because they are obsessed by the novelty of their product or service, especially if a new technology plays a part in it. They act on the assumption that bleeding edge technology is equivalent to bleeding edge utility for buyers, something that our research found is rarely the case. The technology trap that snagged Philip and Motorola trips up the best and brightest companies time and again. Unless the technology makes buyers' lives dramatically simpler, more convenient, more productive, less risky, or more fun and fashionable, it will not attract the masses no matter how many awards it wins. Value innovation is not the same as technological innovation.
value in information is not?
Value, innovation is not the same as technological innovation.
Oh, I'd agree with that.
So
See, that's one of my problems with architects is like the value proposition.
Yeah.
I don't really ever use that. Like, wow, I'm bringing so much value to your project just by virtue of the design. Even though that's what we're saying, and I'm going to crap on myself here. Even though that's what we're saying with our project, we keep saying
no, but there's a difference, and I'll tell you.
Oh, I was going to tell us, but let me finish. We keep saying, this me talking to my wife / our realtor. Oh, wife, what do you know? Come on, we're going to be able to sell these for X, Y, and Z because look at the architecture. Come on, nobody else is doing this. And she's like, location.
Yep. So I think it applies in two ways. One is new technologies, right? There's always these new programs that are coming out. And what's the one where you can do the parameters and link it and you can do all the funky shapes and stuff like that? You know what I'm talking about? It's like the kids at CU were trying to get into it.
Grasshopper.
Nope.
You can do it with Grasshopper.
Maybe it's Grasshopper. Sure. Let's just say Grasshopper.
Fusion.
No, Grasshopper. Let's just say Grasshopper. In the beginning, if you're just linking it to, you can create crazy forms. Okay, great. Do you work for Gary? Do you work for Zaha Hadid? Something like that. How does that technology apply to you? Now, if you can do things which they're doing it now, like, you can flex the building, you can add parameters, make sure that you're not using technology just for technology's sake. And your end user sees that as, you're just spending more money. How does that help them, right? People that are transitioning into Revit. Okay, it's 3D, stuff like that. You can get 3D views, but are you giving them the material takeoffs? Are you looking at, like cutting all sections? Are you using it in a way that's valuable rather than just using a technology just to use it? The second is design. So when they asked, for our development, they said, hey, why don't you just flip your whole project? That seems like it will solve it. And I said, there's 3 reasons why we can't do that. One is I showed them on an urban design context how our open area links with the one across the street, and that's better open space. The second is that if we flip it, there's a buffer on another property that's influencing us and pushing us to one side. So the best units will be stuck to one side and not have a front yard. So if we have to have that buffer, we might as well have... The best
and the most.
Yep. We might as well have a front yard. And this linked to... This was after I explained some of our other projects, like the tiny house, where design decisions, a lot of times you can get a better bang for your buck. So like with our sloped roof of our Atlas tiny house, not only does it capture water, it's aerodynamic, and then it also captures solar power. So like they had in your head, like, they're solving 2 birds with 1 stone. And then the last one is that if we put the bigger building on this side, more rain is going to go on that property where it's already naturally draining, and there's a drainage problem. So by switching it, we're actually putting less water on the other side. So all of those were value, not just, it looks better. It's designed better. So like you can't walk in, and if you're talking to developers, we're just going to tell them it's designed
better. I think that's what you got to at the end here was it functions better. 100%. So the only way I buy it as an architect is all the examples you do. Or if I go in and I say, like, we use, a lot of clients hire my side of the firm when I pitch to them. I can't speak for yours because I'm not in your meetings, but like, we use space efficiently, very efficiently. We don't waste space. We don't care what kind of style it is. Our idea is every square foot counts, $200 a square foot to build, etc.
Well, I like that word because value, when you say, we're more valuable because we provide whatever, maybe work function into your sales literature and into your meetings. We create more functional space. We have more functional solutions, but and then think about your past projects. I think that's a powerful word that has more meaning because it's more specific.
More meat for sure.
Yep. Yeah. Now, let's go to A.R.E. Jeopardy. All right, here we go. Question number 1. Strain can be expressed as A, the change of length over the original length, B, force over area, C, force times distance, D, distance divided by time. Strain. Strain is, do you want me to read them again?
Even though it says strain, it says stain because Al can't spell.
Yeah.
I'll change it.
Please do. The change of length over the original length. Force over area is B. So you guys got that. Those were A and B. C, force times distance. D, distance divided by time.
Interesting.
Do you know, Lance? I bet you know what? Write down right here. Write down so they can't see what you think it is. Come on, bud.
No, I'm not. You're tricking me. I'm not being tricked here.
All right, we have A, and B. The answer is A, the change of length over the original length. So that's...
Did anybody get that?
Yep.
Yeah. Did anybody get that?
Yeah, first two.
First two with the shirts. For everybody listening terrestrially, there is no visual component to this podcast yet. Two of the guys are wearing Inside the Firm podcast shirts. One of the guys not.
Well, actually, out of the whole firm, 4 out of the 6 are wearing the...
Wonder if Josh is wearing his in Florida.
You know what? So next week, we should try to get everyone. I want to walk around Longmont.
Like a gang.
And just be like, those guys are either the coolest or the dorkiest people we have ever seen.
Ever.
Okay, B. Torsion. We're going from strain to torsion. The resisting of lateral forces of a building should be addressed by should be addressed at, okay? A, the dimensional center of the building. B, at the center of mass of the building. C, at the base of the building. D, at the exterior walls. So I'll go over it again. Torsion, which is the resisting of lateral forces, should be addressed at A, at the dimensional center of a building. B, at center of mass of the building. C, at the base of the building. D, at the exterior walls. Where are you resisting torsion at? Do 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 do. B, D, A, B. It is D. So torsion acts around the center of mass, but think about where your shear walls are. Yep. So if it's like if you're you can visualize, if you're resisting it, the exterior ends you'll have to use less. If you try to resist torsion from the center,
no bueno.
No bueno.
Yep. All right, number 3. What is a horizontal reinforced masonry beam usually built integrally with a masonry wall known as A, lintel, B, bond beam, C, beam, D, header? What is a horizontal reinforced masonry beam usually built integrally with a masonry wall known as A, lintel, B, bond beam, C, beam, D, header? Tricky words. Tricky words. What do we got?
I'll guess, too.
Okay.
After they're done.
Okay. What do they got? You read them off, Al. You're the reader off.
A.
What?
I said B.
Correct. Al is correct. Bond beam.
Yep, because a lintel will be over an opening. You don't necessarily need... You can have a bond beam without an opening.
Probably. Maybe. I think the key here is a lintel is steel. And it's... Well, that's tricky. Actually, here's what it is. Yeah. The deciding factor there is when it said, what is a horizontal reinforced masonry beam? So, therefore, it has to be a masonry bond beam because it's not... It doesn't say it's just... a lintel is steel. It's not... There's no masonry about it, right? It's just steel.
I think you can.
What?
I think you can have a concrete lintel.
You could have a concrete. I don't know about that. I think this is the perfect A.R.E.
Yeah.
Semantics.
Yep. Because you can have a bond beam for different reasons. I think bond beam obviously applies.
Okay.
Yep.
Al Gore. All right. Number 4. Oh, what do we got? What's the count? 2 to 1?
2-1 goose egg.
All right. Here we go. Could have a tiebreaker here. 4. What is the first coat of plaster in 3-coat plastering, which is scratched to provide a bond for the second coat known as A, scratch coat, B, first coat, C, brown coat, D, coat? What is the first coat of plaster in 3-coat plastering, which is scratched to provide a bond for the second coat, known as A, scratch coat, B, first coat, C, brown coat, D, just coat?
What do
we got? What do we got, Al?
A.
Answer's A.
Look at that.
Now, do we have a tie?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Oh, I knew it. I gotta go. I gotta pause it and grab
You don't want
some. What?
rock, paper, scissors to the death? No.
No, that's not very A.R.E. Yeah, we'll be right back. So here's how we're going to do the tiebreaker. I'm going to read a definition, and the guys are going to have to get whoever gets closest to the word is the winner. So here we go. Tiebreaker question number 1. A scored concrete surface produced by brooming before the concrete has completely hardened is known as, and then you have to write down the answer, and then we'll read them off. So a scored concrete surface produced by brooming before the concrete has completely hardened is known as. You wouldn't have got that?
I would have got that wrong.
All right. What do we got, tiebreakers?
Yeah, everyone write it down.
Everybody looks confused. What do we got? What do we got?
I hope they're so off that we just have to. We might have to go to another answer.
What do we got?
Or just count the letter of letters.
2 words. What do we got?
Rough surface, rake finish, textured. What do you got?
Broom finish is the answer.
We're giving it to Jason.
All right. That's it then?
That's it.
J-Dog's the winner?
J-Dog.
Okay.
All right, shout outs. One is to Mark LePage on his blog, Entree Architect. He's doing a cool series, so if you haven't checked it out, go check it out. It is called Behind the Design. Selfish reason to check it out is just this week, one of our designs is on there. And it's a really cool Titan 2 project, transforming tiny houses. There's some construction photos, all that, and a little bit about the process. So I think you'll like that. So go to entrearchitect.com, go to the blog, you'll find it. Also, if you have an interesting project, submit it to them. There'll be a submit button there. There's an easy form to fill out. It's very cool to see these projects. I think this is the 3rd one. Everyone has been
We're
cool.
the 4th.
4th one. They've all been cool so far. Another shout out, Eric Reinhold's YouTube. Check that out. That's great. Again, a 3rd shout out, Second Studio. Second Studio is basically a podcast network. It's RETROACTIVE Speak, Entree Architect, and Inside the Firm. So check out all those podcasts. There's always good stuff there for you.
If you have a favorite episode, please share it with a colleague or a friend or somebody who you think would enjoy it, and have them check out the podcast. That's one of the only ways we grow, and it keeps us motivated because our numbers are growing, so we appreciate it. Everybody has been helping out with that, and we will see you next week.